so much for this opportunity to get together and conduct the town's business. We pray for your wisdom and for your guidance and direction. Grant us eyes that see, ears that hear, and hearts of understanding. We pray in Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I, if there are no edits to the agenda, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We'll then begin with our public hearing proposed resolution.
Got to call for a vote on it. The vote, we motion second.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I beg your pardon.
No problem.
Could we have a vote, please, on the agenda?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. We'll then move on to our public hearing, the proposed resolution number 19-10-08.
I'll defer to Dean Gibbons, our lake director. Dean, if you'd like to just give us the context of what's being proposed.
Okay.
And then
Good afternoon. There's
Hearing the proposed
a little bit of
resolution number
housekeeping from
19-10-08.
earlier Marine Commission meetings, and I apologize for the way that this was put into the book.
I'll defer to Dean
There was
Gibbons,
a
our lake director.
request
Dean, if
form
you'd like
put
to
forward
just
for retired
Give us
employees
the context of what's being proposed.
receive a free boat permit if they retired from the town. And the first part of this was, that's what that was to address.
Housekeeping
I just handed you out another
Marine Commission
agenda request form
I apologize for the
pertaining
way
to
that this was put in.
the study that
I'll defer to Dean Gibbons.
the subcommittee for the Lake Advisory Board studied
Request
the
form
lake
put forward
use
for retired employees.
model,
Context of
and
what's proposed.
that'll be
Receive
a,
a free boat
it could be
permit if they
together,
retire
however, I
from
just
town.
wanted to distinguish
And the
between
first
the two.
part
One of them was left
That's
over.
what that was to.
And,
Housekeeping from.
It's been brought back
Another
for this meeting, the corrections were made in the lake use
agenda request
regulations.
form. I
And then,
apologize for the way that this was put in.
The other is from the subcommittee. The one from the subcommittee is,
Study the lake use.
what our attempts was to do was to study the commercial model and see actually how many hours that the boats were being used according to what the model said they were being used. That we felt like that livery boats were not using up as many hours. We got into that discussion. 1 second, please. We got into the discussions of that model. We actually monitored lake use hours for boats that are on the lake, and we did find out that they were using a lot less hours than what we had envisioned them to do. We also looked at the commercial use of the lake and tried to decide how that we could better create categories to fit today's time. Like in the lake use regulation, or in the commercial boat model, it has livery less than 10, it has livery greater than 10. Livery less than 10 has not been used very much at all. And as most of you will remember, we have consistently taken hours out of the less than 10 to move to the above 10. So to allow room for people to fit into the model. So what we've done is we went through and we've decided to create or make a request to create a new category, which would be vacation rental category. And this would be the current livery above 10 model. Would change names to vacation rental, and this would be for the vacation rental homes that have boats with them, and vacation rental companies who manage them, manage multiple homes. And we would also move the livery less than 10 would become a livery category, And delivery boats would be boats that are used for short-term rental, such as hour, half-day, whole day, or however you'd have it. The vacation rental would be a boat that would be rented with a home for the period of time that that home is rented. It wouldn't be able to be rented out for shorter periods of time outside. It'd have to be somebody that's a resident of that, or a rental of that home would be the one that could rent that boat. We went through some other things in the lake use regulations and tried to clean up. Let's see, give me 1 second. Some of the other areas we're trying to clean up is commercial businesses that are not operating out of a commercially zoned area. And we've included that in here. And basically, I think that was the meat of what we have done. There's several things in here that are being changed, but they're to address pretty much what I've brought up there.
Thank you, Dean. Are there any questions?
What, on the second half of this proposal, I mean, I understand as far as the employees' use and that kind of thing, that updating in this ordinance, but I'm back here addressing, as far as wanting to change it where you must have a commercial building to rent a boat versus being able to just sign a contract at a dock and that kind of thing. What's driven this?
Well, part of the problem is in the lake use regulations, it's prohibited to operate off of town property without a concession agreement. And we have several people that are conducting business off of town docks and tying up town docks that we offer to the public to be able to go to restaurants and things. They're operating off of these docks, and which is in violation of the lake use regulations. And it's not that they have to have a commercial building, it's that they have to be in a commercially zoned area to operate as a commercial business.
Well, but what you're doing there is now you're taking any person that's operating right now that doesn't have a specific commercial title, but yet you've got businesses operating out of residential in town.
They're permitted.
I know they're permitted, but I'm just saying, we're now saying that's permitted to do that commercial operation. Who's to say that, I mean, if they're renting a boat, what's the difference in renting a boat from your home and renting or running a business from your home?
Is a vacation rental is something that is permitted through the town, and that is a permitted use.
Right, now I understand.
Operating a commercial boat is not allowed to be moored and used out of an area on the lake that is not zoned commercial.
I know, but what we're doing is all of us are property owners. Everybody in this room is a property owner. They're paying for this lake through their taxes and their operations. And what we're doing is we're excluding a group of people that want to rent a boat like Livery. I mean, we're purposely excluding those people, and we didn't put a grandfather clause in to say if anybody's operating now, that they should still have that privilege to operate now. But, I mean, some people have bought boats just to operate and to use on the lake, and now those people would basically, we've made no place for them. And I always hate when big government gets involved and says, yeah, this group can do this, yeah, it's allowed, like working out of a residential home. However, I'm gonna adopt the I over here, and I'm gonna say, no, I'm only gonna allow the people that have a commercial business on the lake to rent any boats.
Bob, can I speak to that just for a second?
Sure.
The LAB spent hours and hours on this subject. And unfortunately, what the issue is, as I see it, is we did not realize initially when all this started that we should have changed the regulations initially. So what we have now, as you have said, is people that are doing that now. And they're really not doing anything illegal except for the fact that they're operating a business out of their home, that's a residential, it's not permitted as a vacation rental. And so they're operating a commercial business out of their home, which is not allowed. And a lot of those people, not by regulation, it's not allowed. And a lot of those people are using the public docks, they're using the town marina docks that we have a concession agreement with Lake Lure Tours, then they're still coming in there and meeting people and renting people out of there, and that's not allowed. So that's the big issue. We have some of those people that we granted, went over the boat model, and we granted those people an exception and went past our boat model and gave some people permits in order to accommodate them. And they told the LAB when they requested those permits that they were going to be used for vacation rental. And as it turned out, they've been renting those daily, weekly, hourly, half day, and they've been doing that from town docks. Okay, so that is the primary reason for this being studied and been looked at by the LAB. We did not grandfather anybody, okay? But if we don't get a handle on this as a town, just think where we could be in 5 years from now, if we have it where anybody can decide they're going to build a website, start renting boats off that website on the lake that belongs to the town.
And the people of the town,
Well,
the residents.
and your comment a minute ago about all those people are citizens of this town, that's not accurate. They're not all citizens of this town. And so, that's the reason for doing this. It's not pointed at one person. It's unfortunate that when the people that were, at the time all this started, we didn't figure out we needed to set these rules to begin with. But the fact that we made a mistake then does not, in my opinion, make it necessary that we acknowledge those people that have figured it out better than we did, that are doing that. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit the reason for thinking that.
Well, it does, but what I'm seeing now is basically, there's only so much commercial property on the lake and the lake area. So now anybody that doesn't have a formal commercial building is left out. They won't be allowed to.
Well, unfortunately, you're exactly correct.
Right, and I have a problem because what we're doing now is we're favoring big business.
So you think we should just open it up to all commercial businesses to come in and do what they want to do? Is that what you're saying?
No, of course not. Don't
Okay.
go there.
All right.
What I'm saying is, my opinion, is that we have to make it a balanced system for all citizens and not just say, okay, formal businesses, you get these rights. If you're an individual citizen, you have no rights to rent anything or do anything.
We're not saying that. Anybody that has a vacation rental permitted house can rent a boat from their house.
Right.
They have that ability to do that by permit.
Right, and same with the livery permits or any of the others, they're paying for this permit, and it's a higher rate of permit, because we did not want to do a concession agreement for every nut, bolt, and screw on the lake or every boat. That would be too cumbersome, and you'd never be able to track it anyway. So the permits are increased. Now, through the study, we do have more time in other areas based off of the new study we have that we weren't using all the time. So the time was available. I'm saying working within the model, and if those who are doing it now that have been paid for permits, they should be grandfathered in because the model allows them. What would be wrong with allowing those who are doing it now, who are permitted, and we have a model that has the lake hours available? What would be wrong with that?
Well, that was studied by the LAB. That's not the recommendation of the LAB to council, to Marine Commission.
Well, I understand, but I believe in a little bit more than just a few privileged people getting all the control of everything. That's my opinion.
If I might ask, under the current proposal, who can rent out a commercial motorized boat?
So you're talking livery?
Just who? Who can rent out a motorized boat? Who has the right to make a commercial motorized boat available for rent?
Anybody that is in a commercially zoned area.
And residential vacation rentals.
Vacation rentals,
And
yes,
they can
currently,
also
currently,
rent one
yes.
out.
Right,
And who else? Businesses that manage vacation rentals.
right.
What about other types of businesses? Can any other businesses rent out motorized boats?
Pretty much anybody that buys right now, under current regulation, anybody that buys a
I'm
livery
talking,
permit,
not right now, under this proposed changes, who
Under-
can rent out those boats?
it would be a business that is in a commercially zoned area,
All right,
which would include, vacation rental companies and, businesses that are located in commercial areas would be the only two. Vacation rental would not be a rental boat as a livery, it would be a rental boat tied directly to their home. So
Yeah.
there's two different boats, or
yeah,
two
I'm not
different
talking
classes.
about the class or the category of the boat. I'm just talking to anybody at all with the capability of renting a boat to someone. Everybody with a concession agreement
Right.
can do it. Everybody in
Everybody with a
a
rental
vacation
home.
rental home with a vacation rental permit,
Right,
with a boat can do it. A vacation rental management company.
right.
And are there other businesses other than those that can rent boats to the general public under these proposed changes?
I don't believe there is.
John, did you see that, or are there others that you're aware of?
Not
I mean,
not that I'm aware of. You mean other than the people that are doing it, that don't
Other
fit
than the
into
ones
those
that I just
categories?
named, people with concession agreements, businesses that are in a zoned area, businesses that are vacation rental, management companies, vacation rental property owners that have a permitted boat.
Does this allow anything else besides that? Is that what your question is?
All of them, yeah, I mean, are there any others that can rent boats out to the public
Not-
under this model?
Not that I'm aware
Because
of.
I think that's what Bob was getting at. Is that our true intent, to prohibit all others from being able to rent in any way?
Well, I don't think we can answer that question until they come to make an application and apply
Right.
and state their basis for the reason they want to do that.
What we're trying to curb, I gather, is unauthorized rentals. People renting their private boat out for money, it doesn't have a commercial permit. And I think it's what we're trying to curb, along with people renting to occupants of vacation rentals, and the vacation rentals don't have a boat with the property, but we have people renting boats to the occupants of the vacation rentals.
And we also have people that have websites that
Right.
are renting to people that have nothing to do with vacation rental or anything else.
Yeah. I think the intent of the hole we're trying to fill and the loop we're trying to close is great. And there may still be some questions and some things to iron out. It is a living document. There's things we can try for a little while, and if it doesn't work, we refine it. As problems surface, bring them up, and then we refine it. We were talking about one potential earlier, John and Dean and what's your name, Mark? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
What was the intent to limit the vacation rentals, boat rental only to the days that are, the house is rented? What's the intent behind that?
Well, the commercial model, as you know, every year has been full. We've been expanding that model and robbing Peter to pay Paul with hours to get more boats into the model. Well, in our study of the hours that boats are using, the vacation rental boat hours were considerably less than the livery rental hours. And by tying those boats to a vacation rental home, opposed to it being able to be rented out through the internet and just wherever it needs to be. We can't control those hours, and that fills the model up even faster. So by tying those boats to a vacation rental home, then we got a good consensus on how many hours that boat is gonna use and how often it's gonna be on the lake. Opposed to a short-term rental boat that rents for half days or days or however they do it.
If I may, Bob, that's exactly what John and Mark and I were talking about, Dean, before the meeting. If everyone will look at page 8, or page 11 in your booklet, upper right corner, paragraph P, that's subparagraph P that's in red. Is this microphone really loud? That's exactly what we're talking about. And what came from that little discussion was, the intent is, if I'm a residential vacation homeowner and I have a permitted boat under the new RVR category, that boat cannot be rented to someone that's not renting my home. That boat can only be rented to the people that are occupying my home at the time they're occupying it. Now, it's worded a little funny, and we talked about that, and we need to reword it some, but that's essentially what they're trying to close. The example I threw out was, if I have somebody rent my home for 2 weeks and only want the boat for 1 week, the way it's worded, that wouldn't fit, but that's the option, that's an option. Or if they don't want a boat at all, that's an option. But that property owner cannot use that permit for renting that boat to the general public at large unless they're renting the property. And that's essentially what we're trying to close up there, I believe.
Well, like I said, my problem is now is those who have permits now, there's no grandfather provision at all. And I don't think that a person that's made the investment in boats and their websites and all their business practices, they basically have to shut down after this year.
Oh,
And that's not fair to a business person. Or and that person, if they're a resident of Lake Lure, they're paying taxes like the rest of us.
So how are they gonna operate their business with these new regulations?
That's the problem, is they're not gonna be able to operate it. That's what I'm saying. Knocks them out.
Well, they're breaking the laws now.
They were given a permit to operate. The main issue is that they come up to a town dock and they get there and whoever's written it walks up to town dock and they go out. That's what the issue is really about.
Well, that's not just the only issue. The only issue is, what about the revenue they're getting? What's the town getting from that?
They're charging an inflated permit for it.
Yeah.
Just like
No,
they do.
no, what, not beside the permit, what about sales taxes and all those things?
They're supposed to pay their sales taxes. They do pay those.
Oh, they do?
They're supposed to.
You've checked with them to make sure they're doing that?
No, of course not.
Okay.
well,
So here again, you're making an assumption that they're not. It depends how the business is set up.
well, we know, or we assume, by being an approved RVR, they're paying their TDA taxes. Now, as far as taxes on renting the boat, I don't
Nobody
know.
knows that.
I would recommend, subject to a couple other minor changes that we talked about, I would recommend that if we approve this tonight, then come back at the December meeting with a specific recommendation regarding grandfathering. And that recommendation could be yes or no, depending on all the discussion of the board. And that this actually doesn't go into effect until 1 January. That way the permits they currently have are still valid for whatever they're doing this year. At this time of this year, it's not gonna make a huge difference.
Stephen, I even suggested that if we get into a situation like that, we could extend the 2019 boat permits till a February 1 date or a March 1 date to get us this time to get, if we need more time to refine.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we've spent hours, the LAB has spent hours, trying to get all these things figured out to be, as fair to everybody as possibly can be. So,
Good.
I would rather have in that motion that they're grandfathered in and then put it under study for future, but I just feel they need to be fathered in. They're only 2 or 3 months from a new year, and they own all these boats and properties. You can't just walk out and have payments on boats, and you can't make your payments because you've been canceled out. So-
Well, the permits, of course, run with the calendar year.
Right, that's
And
what I'm
that's why
saying.
I was looking at that. I think if we, John, went to February or March, then we have the possibility of somebody slipping in and buying a permit and it just not getting picked up in the system at that time.
well, we wouldn't start
And
selling
then we might
permits.
have,
We wouldn't start selling permits till then.
no, we start selling permits.
We would not, under this, it would be an extension. We would not start selling new permits until we have this worked out.
Oh.
That's what had been discussed.
And you're also
okay.
gonna have a lake down this year that's gonna damper
That's right.
much going on.
Well,
We, and we discussed the fact that the lake is gonna be down.
Well, I'm not hung up on that one too much, it's just a discussion there, but, food for thought. On page 6 of your packet, Andy, we need to change under residential vacation, we need to change that third word and make it say rental as opposed to what it currently says.
Green.
That definition, you see that? Uh, on page 9 of your packet, under section 3C, there's nothing in red, but there needs to be. The fourth line where it says classifications 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 needs to be changed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. And then it will be in synchronization with the other part of the regulation that talks about the insurance. So the new category 8 would have to have the same $1 million marine insurance. Page 12, the bottom right corner of the chart. It says, and up to 10 VRN. That's vacation rental non-motorized. And that means with 146 vacation rentals on the shoreline, that's a potential of 1,460 non-motorized boats. I don't think we want to open ourselves to that potential, although it may never be reached. I'd recommend a max of 5 vacation rental non-motorized is what I'd recommend.
And that's something we did not discuss. We did not realize that was set at 10, so
Well,
we did not discuss that.
We got Mark here and Dean. Any opposition to that?
We got another voting member too.
Okay. Any opposition to that 5? Oh. I have no other recommended changes.
I've got one, if I may, on page 5. Right below the red number 8, it says commercial operators. We had struck out 7 and added 8.
Right.
8 is what needs to be removed from that. It's not a piloted boat.
8 would not be in that category.
Correct, that's what I'm saying, 8
Got
would
it.
need to be removed. from-
So it remains 2 through 7.
Yes, yes.
Got it. As far as from my perspective, the only other issue is what Bob brought up, is the grandfathering consideration. So,
I just think that's very important.
Well,
and
as part of that grandfathering consideration, you could, consider, sunset period. Just, rather than all one or the other, you could, allow it for a certain period of time and then have it cease after that time.
Well, are we gonna go in and change, if that's done, are we gonna go in and change all the regulations to allow them to use the town's docks and everything to operate their business from, and operate their business in a non-commercial, environment?
I don't know, I just
I-
thought of that as we were talking.
Right, that's the problem I see with grandfathering,
Right.
is they don't have a place to operate, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they got that started that way, but if we allow that to, well, we're talking about grandfathering, but how are they gonna operate their business, is my question. Allen, that has his slips, does not allow commercial business to be operated out on the premises, out of his slips. Rumbling Bald, they had a person doing that, and they made that person move their boats. And so that took care of the problem there. The town does not allow the rental of any of our slips in the marina to be used for this type of livery operation that we're talking about here. So if we grandfather those people, how are they gonna operate their business?
Here's what you see, you've got three basic companies who can, and everybody else is out.
Well, that's just that's in circumstance of our lake and the size it is, and the fact that we don't have any more property, and
And that's-
we can't change the rules to accommodate, 4 or 5 people, and when we really, our lake doesn't support that.
But that's exactly, you say exactly right. We've got, because of topography, we don't have the room to accommodate some of these others, even though they're citizens and they're business people like the others. But now we're going to get up there and say, okay, you get to handle it, and the rest of you, you're out.
Well, what happened with that?
That's big business.
Yeah, what happened with that is, and that's something that, what happened with that is when we created this new activity of renting boats the way we didn't close all the loopholes.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that because some people figured out smarter than we were, at whoever was making the rules then, how they could do it and still be breaking the laws and using the town's docks and everything. I don't think that one wrong makes a right or whatever. I just don't.
reality is someone will always find a loophole, one way or
But-
another.
Here's an idea, you could handle that situation real quick. You could assign 2 docks in the lake, or 3 docks at the lake that the town does own, that it would be allowed at, such over by the police boats. Those docks there, you could say those would be the commercial operators' docks for any,
And so we're gonna put those people in direct competition with the people that we have an agreement with, renting boats and taking away their time, their opportunity to rent boats, which in turn pays money back to the town.
they pay taxes just like anybody else. They are providing a service just like anybody else.
Who is so,
Whoever it is, whoever we have permitted now, I'm not talking about new, I'm saying we have permitted these people. They have done a business plan based off of what the town has allowed them to do. They have a permit. I'm not saying new, I'm saying grandfather in the ones that have. If we need to do something, we do an assigned area. But these people have spent money, invested everything they got in some cases, but they have invested money just like any business person here. And we're saying because, yeah, we messed up, there was loopholes, they used them, but now we say, you're out. End of this year, you've invested $50,000, you're gonna lose, you're done.
Shannon, did you have a question? I'm sorry, Shannon,
Yeah.
you had a question.
Oh.
I did. I was gonna ask our attorney, regarding what's being proposed as far as, grandfathering in a use that is not in compliance with the current regulations. Based on what you've heard, what are the legal issues surrounding that type of move?
I don't think you should legalize something that's still, or grandfather something that is still being conducted in at least a partially illegal or non-compliant way, if I'm understanding
But you,
because you would be encouraging something that you, from one office or one department or whatever, that the zoning official could cite them for. There seems to be a fundamental conflict in that. That's the only thing I see, that the rest of it is just a policy decision, but I think you would have to recognize that you're allowing that somehow within the regulations that are necessarily being violated in order to do that.
So-
Law.
Yeah.
but could we not assign an area though, that it would be allowed? Because these people have a huge investment
I
right
suppose
now.
you could, so long as you're taking out the zoning violation component of it.
Right.
So it's like you're encouraging a zoning violation
Unless you do assign an area.
by the grandfather clause that's being discussed.
So
Does
if
it
I
make
may,
sense to deal with the ordinance in front of us tonight and hold out the possibility of, maybe grandfathering or maybe grandfathering with a, sunset clause? And because it's probably gonna take more time for discussion than what we have now.
You still have a public,
It's okay.
it's a public hearing too, right? If there's
Yeah,
This is,
yeah,
yeah.
and,
If there's anybody else that wants.
address this, and then, over the next few months, look at, just make a decision about the grandfathering during that period of time.
One thing we do need to do is, it is a public hearing, anyone.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who would like to add something to this discussion or conversation? Yes, please, if you would.
I'm Andrew Stevenson. I've had one boat that I've rented out for a couple of years, and
What's your address for the record?
I'm sorry, it's 121 Middle Oaks Trail. Now I'm in the category where I don't live in the town due to my day job as a potter. You guys wouldn't want me to have my kiln in city property. Let's just say that. So I have to be out in the county for my main business. But I usually rent my boat to people who are here renting one of the 130 houses that don't have boats. I don't rent by the, hour, half day, whatever. I just don't have time for it. I want to rent. I'm filling a niche where a lot of these homeowners who have these vacation rentals, they don't want to deal with boats. They don't want to mess with it. So I have about 5 houses that regularly call me and say I've got a renter that wants to rent my boat. If I'm understanding this right, then I'm out. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, please let me know. As I see it now, I guess I'm not going to have a business next year. I mean, I understand the issue with vacation rentals who are letting people use their boats. I don't see how that should put me out. I think that in the scheme of things, tourism is a big business in this town. And if people come to the lake and they can't rent a boat for the week, then why come here? They want to get on the water. And I've talked to people who have rented boats from me, and they say the main reason they come here is because they know they can get a boat and get out on the water. There's too many lakes around here, quite frankly, that can take business away from Lake Lure. Also, I keep my boat over at the dam. I have an agreement with Alan that I don't let anyone come on the property. I'm not interested in renting my boat from the dam at all. So grandfather clause, I guess, would help. But the other thing is also some folks that come to the lake and rent boats, they can't rent for a week. It's just too expensive. So they like to rent the boat for 3 days maybe. Then they'll go to Asheville for a day, maybe they'll go to Chimney Rock or something like that. But to have the clause in there that it has to be rented for the full length of the rental, I think is maybe not the best thing. Because people sometimes don't want the boat for the week. So anyway, but I appreciate you letting me speak. And
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is that okay to ask a question in public hearing? So, what percent of your rentals that you do are to people that are renting vacation rental homes?
95% of them.
And so you have 5 homes that you do that to?
Typically, they put my info in their packet that they give out to renters. So then, if the renter is interested, they'll call me up.
They who does that? Who puts your name out?
The owners of the vacation rentals.
So are you working through a specific vacation rental management company?
No, sir, it's just me.
But I mean, you don't, one.
No, I'm sorry. They're just individual homeowners that have their houses on VRBO or any of those.
Okay,
other
so they're
sites.
not, their property's not managed by a vacation rental management company?
No, not in general. I have had a few calls from Mr. Lake Lure. Some of his clients have called me that are renting houses.
So you have a website that you do?
I don't advertise at all. It's strictly word of mouth.
The rental homeowners are the ones that
Yes, sir.
you get.
I
most of your
contact
business
them. I contact them and say, I have a boat for rent. If you have any people that would like to rent a boat, here's my info.
Are you registered with TDA for that?
With a permit, to have a commercial permit?
You don't pay taxes,
Do
TDA taxes.
do you pay TDA taxes? to
Not
the
on the
TDA?
rental boat, no,
They're
sir.
not required, John.
The house
Not
does.
required.
Do you
The
pay
yeah.
sales taxes on your rentals?
Yes, sir, yeah, through, but, it's like, I don't advertise, so, it's just strictly word of mouth, but 95% of my rentals are all people, and most of them do rent by the week. There are some that they just wanna rent for 3 days, because they're gonna go to Asheville or Chimney Rock for the day,
Okay.
or anything like that,
Thanks.
so.
And you
thank you.
live in the county,
Yes, sir, I'm about 5 miles outside town.
and you run this business from your home.
Yes, sir. I mean, they call me on my cell phone. I mean, I take my boat, I deliver the boat to them.
To the dam marina?
No, sir, I have my boats at the dam. So
Okay.
then somebody will call me and say, I'd like the boat for the week. I take it to them and deliver it.
At their rental house?
Yes, sir. And then I go over all the rules and all that, and have them fill out a contract and do all that. So they're aware of the rules and regulations. I even go over the fishing regulations with them. I mean, I'm thorough, and I've never had a ticket, never had a complaint. And they'll,
So the real question to us is this the kind of business we want to eliminate? And, I mean, really, that's the question that's before us as part of this.
This is filling a void and a need for the individual people who rent their homes that don't have boats.
And part of what I was gonna get to a while ago was, you have some residents that have 2 or 3 commercial boats, or they manage them for the owner of the boat, and they provide them as rentals. And they're occupying slips in either Rumbling Bald or the Village Resort or somewhere else, and they're renting it out of those slips. And that goes back to where a year or so back, I was looking at commercial slip fees, because those slips were being used for commercial purposes and they weren't intended for that. The slips were allowed otherwise.
But that's just where I'm at. There's other needs out there other than And just automatically vacation homes, well, you got, how many vacation homes don't have boats?
130 as far as I know. That's a lot of houses without boats and,
So there's a
But they
need,
have the ability to get one if they
yes, sir.
want one.
Yeah, they do. Yes, sir, they do.
It's
They
not
just
130 on the
they
lake.
just don't want to deal with boats. I mean,
Yes.
boats are, quite frankly,
on the lake.
pain
That's right.
sometimes.
yeah,
Believe me.
It's 146 or 16
Total,
boat
and then
permits.
130 on the
Thank
lake.
you.
Thank you.
yeah, thank
Is there anyone else who has anything they'd like to add?
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Can I interject one thing? If there's one of, if it's the thinking of the board that you'll get something acted on tonight, okay. I just wanted to say that if there was a chance that this might flow over at all,
Yeah.
you might not want to close the public hearing because then you have to re-advertise.
Hmm.
So, but it sounds like that's not a concern.
Well,
You could recess it to another time,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. You probably know that.
Well, there's a lot of good, if the public hearing's closed, Madam Mayor, if I might. There-
We hadn't voted on that.
Oh, okay.
We're deciding about that. Are we gonna vote on this tonight? John, you gonna make a motion? Or Steve, you gonna make a
Well,
motion?
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. There's a lot of good in this regulation that we do need to go ahead and pass. It
Okay.
closes a loop on another issue or a couple of other issues, like manipulation of boat permits.
Okay, well,
So, you
but
know,
it's okay, so I've got a motion to close public hearing.
she
And a
does.
second.
In a second, so,
All in
All in
favor?
favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Public
All right.
session's closed then.
now,
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there's several other things involved in this regulation besides just the RVRs and the permitting there. We closed a loophole about complimentary permits. The way the regulation was written, people that get complimentary permits could end up with more than one per household. And we've now closed that loophole to limit one per household. The manipulation of permits, where somebody would buy their permit, you get 2 actual stickers for your boat, and they would put one on a separate boat that's not even registered with the town. And that's intentional theft from the town, and we definitely need to close that and act on it, in my opinion. I think all the definitions that are there are fine. And the other recommended changes, the administrative changes and amendments mentioned. I would make a motion that we approve resolution or adopt resolution number 19-10-08, amending the lake use regulation as amended by the discussion here tonight, with the exception of the sales of permits for the new category. So the LAB can go back and do a little further study on that aspect of it. And also specifically subparagraphs P on page 11 of our packet that we discussed, and subparagraph G on page 17 of the packet that we discussed. That's my motion. Approve everything, basically approve everything there except for that stuff that I just mentioned.
I'll second that motion.
And what was under section, on page 17, which one?
Yeah, subparagraph G at the bottom.
Class D violations.
all right, you take,
Right.
tell me what you're taking out. I'm not sure I'm following 100% here.
Okay,
Class
P
D violations.
on page, on 17, G.
Okay,
Not going with that right now.
all right.
Or actually, you're correct, G needs to stay as is for the time being. And that could be worded better and worked out as we discussed earlier.
All right, we can work
So,
on that.
and P on page 11,
Yeah,
that,
Taking P
the
out.
intent, we discussed the intent of that, and it's not necessarily you must rent a boat for the same time you're renting the house. It's, you can only rent a boat with an RVR permit from that property.
And to
you
the
can only
person
rent
renting
it,
that.
and you can only rent it to the occupants of the property. That's the key of that.
So that just
intent.
needs to be reworded.
Right,
Right.
that's just reworded, right.
All right. Is that it?
There's nothing on grandfathering or anything?
Well, we're not gonna sell any permit. I said to not sell the permits for the new category. Or delay selling the permits until they get back and do a little more discussion on that.
yeah, I would not support a vote on the grandfathering without it going back to LAB with all the work.
Oh, really? You did? All right. Also, on page 12, you need to include the changing on the far right corner, last item from 10 VRNs to 5.
Right, that's one of the ones we, yeah. That change
Motion.
would stay, yeah, recommended.
Let's state again, I would not support voting on the grandfathering tonight without it going back to the LAB because of the time they've spent on it. They need the respect of revisiting that.
I didn't suggest.
I know you
grandfathering.
didn't. I just want, I'm
I
just
was
saying.
just saying that we don't start the sales of the new permits until we're settled on that.
I'm fine with it.
Question for staff. For Andy, just want to make sure, this is page 11, paragraph P. Is that going to be excluded, or was there specific language to have it reworded?
Is to reword it, to express the intent that we discussed.
So that will stay, it just needs to be reworked. And then G will stay on page 17.
Yeah.
For the time, yeah. Yeah, Mark and Dean know what they need to talk about there.
Andy, was there anything else?
Yeah,
So everything else is the same other than those
Page,
little,
Yeah.
yep. Page 6 was discussed that we add a T,
Yeah, add a T to the definition.
yes. I
and
got
then, okay, and then page 5, it stays as 2 through 7.
Right, and then,
And then page 9, there's a number change.
Yes,
uh,
take out, or just add 8,
yeah, to change
Page
it,
9.
Yeah,
add 8,
make it 5, 6, and 8, right.
5, 6, and 8. I think we've got it.
You got it.
But everything else is the same, just those.
Yeah, I made it, Stephen made it.
So that was a motion as made and amended by the subsequent discussion.
And I seconded the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
no,
3 in favor, 1 against. The motion carries then.
can't support with that page 10, item H in there, that you're just shutting out all these people.
I can't hear you.
I said I just can't support it with page 10, item 8, because you're just cutting out all these people, and
Page 10, item 8,
you've seen the example right here.
H. Okay.
Okay, what's next?
Is there
Well,
any
we'll
other,
discuss.
do we have any other new business? If not,
I'll
do I
make
hear a
a-
motion to adjourn?
I'll
No.
make that motion.
No, ma'am. We never did the consent agenda, which is the next item
Oh,
on
I'm
the
so
agenda.
sorry. I beg your pardon. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
No, we just approved the ordinance under the public hearing or at the end of it.
Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Just a moment, please. I'm trying to find those minutes in here. Oh. Okay, at the top of page 28, your well, you called for a motion. You had a motion? Or no?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, I second the motion in discussion. Page 28, top of the page, amend the date April 9 to July 9. Same at the top of page 29 in the packet. Got that, Andy? Okay. Top of page 30, change August 9 to August 13. And that was the only amendments I have. So I'm prepared whenever you call for a vote, if no other discussion.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Right, the consent agenda is approved as read.
Adjourn.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I did.
All right,
Second?
we are adjourned.
No.
Oh, we have to take a vote. I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned. We're
Awesome.
gonna take a
Awesome.
10-minute break before we start the council
Okay.
meeting.